What's up, Carolina family? Welcome to the first video of the 2024-25 season of East North Carolina basketball. Coach Dame, I'm back. Sorry, it's been a little while. I've been coaching myself. A lot of games last year. Six practices a week, 2 to 5 games a weekend. But we're back, still coaching. But I'm really happy to get back to talking about some Carolina basketball. I'm here to break down, just a premiere of this big blue blood matchup. North Carolina faces Kansas tomorrow, which will be Friday. And this is a super exciting game, of course. One is so early in the season, so it's really nice to get that early test just to see where you're at, there'll be some implications, in my opinion, on talent. Like, how talented is this team? Can we compete with all the other major programs, the big programs when it comes later, especially in March. Games like this are also good to compare against. Okay, how will we look against the rivals down the road and all these things? So this is a great game for that. And of course, we can't talk about Kansas versus North Carolina, which is a blue blood match made in heaven always, and it's also a rivalry, right? We have the idea of Coach Roy Williams, who used to be their coach, leaving their program to come to our program. We had some great battles with them. And of course, we can't talk about the great battles without the most recent championship battle. Um, you know, 2017, I'm really looking to upgrade this. I can't wait to upgrade this. But anyway, let's get back to the point. Last time we faced Kansas, of course, was an epic, blue blood championship matchup. We're just on the end of, that great Caleb Love shot versus Duke, sending Coach K home. And it was a great game. Unfortunately, we fell a little bit short. In that game, we had Armando Bacot, we had R.J. Davis, Caleb Love, Leaky Black, Brady Manick. And this year, the only person returning from that team is RJ, who's in his fifth year due to a COVID year. And he gets to grace us with his presence a little bit more. So RJ Davis is here. He has some get back probably that's on his mind. And it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough match. It's going to be a great match. Obviously, we want to get that win back. And of course, it always feels good to beat Kansas. I think we're 1-4 against them in the past, four matchups. So it's definitely time for us to get back on the right track against them. They have a great program, and it's good for bragging rights. But like I said, it's also good to test ourselves and see where we're at and make that statement. Make a statement. They're coming in as number one in the country in the pre-rankings, and we're ninth. So I think it's also important that, for example, the point margins matter. If they blow us out, then people will say, like, okay, well, top 10 is top 10, even if it's against the number one team in the country. You need to have a good game because that pushes you out the rankings, which makes it harder down the line when you're looking at, it's not a bad loss, of course. It's never a bad loss, but it makes it a little harder when it comes to rankings and then also like seedings. And that's what we care about, right? Is where are we seated to make the best route for our boys to get to the promised land at the end of this thing. So on the flip side, if we definitely, obviously, we think we can win, we want to win, we're coming in to win, and it'll be a great win because if we beat the number one team in the country, we won, knock them off, to puts us up, gives us a great win on our resume for the end of that season. And maybe it puts a little bit of a target on our backs, but hey, it's North Carolina. We get everyone's best every game. We always get everyone's best shot every game. So it doesn't matter, when it comes to that, when it comes to the mentality of the players, the ranking shouldn't matter because these guys know that they need to come in, and no matter if they're the underdog or they're the favorites, there's people are always going to give us their best shot, and we need to come in and capitalize on that. So we definitely need to win there, and let's see what happens. In that game, RJ finished with 15 points, 2 assists, 3 turnovers, and he's actually, what was that? That was his sophomore year, right? So I believe it was his sophomore year. So he's a much better player than that. He's coming in preseason ACC Player of the Year, and it's super exciting time to see what RJ is going to bring. So with that said, let's get in a little bit into these matchups and the player personnel. So Kansas had their first exhibition, or one of their first exhibitions, against Arkansas, which was a big charitable event, awesome event, hosted by Arkansas at their house. And this is one of our first times getting to see Coach Cal and some of the guys that he brought with him to Arkansas, which they were talented. They're very talented. They had a couple guys that we recruited, like Boogie Flynn, and yeah, it was a good matchup for them, a good test for them. The thing is, a lot of people put a lot of weight on saying, I saw people in comment sections and online saying basically that if Kansas was so good or they're the preseason number one, then why did Arkansas look so good? Let's hold our horses a little bit. Let's hold our horses a little bit. We do need to understand is when we play against them, is they're going to be a different look. They're going to have a different look, and they're going to be a little more powered, have a little more power with their team. And so we can't take what they did against Arkansas lightly, thinking that's how we're going to just waltz in and take the game. We need to take the game seriously. And when I say that, we talk about guys like Hunter Dickinson being missing. And this is a very interesting thing where we can start talking a little bit about matchups and personnel because if you think about Hunter Dickinson, we mostly know him from his time in Michigan. And we've had, like, I think, didn't we have like 2 years back to back of playing Michigan in the Big Ten ACC Challenge? And so in those games, we had Armando Bacot. We had Armando Bacot to, match up with Hunter. They've known each other from the high school circuit. They have a little history there. They know each other. But then there's also the size. Hunter is, I don't know, is he 6'11", 7 foot or whatever? He has good size on him. He has a nice touch, but he's not the most mobile big guy. So even though he can stretch the floor a bit, even though he's a good post foot, good footwork on the block, it is the case that he's not known for his foot speed. So that was a lot of opportunities for Baycott to switch on, or different players to switch on him, but then also for Baycott to kind of push him around, bully him a little bit, make shots hard for him. And it was just a big body there that you could see where he had a little trouble there. He had decent games against us, but he wasn't destroying us like other teams, like he was doing other teams. On top of that, we also were able to get him into foul trouble in a couple of those games. So all that being said, we no longer have Armando. We no longer have him. And it's going to be a task because we need to have, for example, Jalen Washington needs to be very mobile. He needs to be quick off his feet. And that's one of the key matchups that we're going to have to look forward to. So Hunter Dickinson was missing versus Arkansas, so that would have been a very different game for them, especially since they have another big. It'd been nice to see how he played against him. However, he made his way back against their first actual game, which was against Howard University, and against Howard he came back. He scored 16 and had 6 rebounds. So they only beat them by 30, and I say only. I mean you don't disrespect, but you can kind of think maybe they would have been a little bit more dominant both on the offensive side and the defensive side. Granted, they put up 87 points. That's nothing too shabby, right? But it could have been that they rotated. Everyone got some playing time, it looks like. So, yeah, so who knows if Hunter plays more than 21 minutes. That's actually pretty, when you look at it that way. 21 minutes, 16 points, 6 rebounds. Pretty efficient, pretty effective game. So it'll be very key to see how we match up against him. Is Jalen Washington going to be able to match up with him one-on-one situations? What type of, is he going to be strong enough? A lot of the discussion about Jalen Washington is how strong has he been? How strong has he come back after the summer? A lot of people think his true position could have been at the 4 this whole time, and now he's definitely in a position where he is he's our tallest guy, and we're subbing in guys like Withers and Theo and all these other guys, and they're like 6'7", 6'8". So it's definitely a different situation, and it's going to be very key to see how Jalen Washington matches up with him, or will Coach Hubert Davis and staff send a double team his way. So very intriguing to see how we match up with Hunter Dickinson in this game, and our first time seeing him, and us seeing him on the court versus anyway as a Kansas Jayhawk. All right, let's get a look at some of this offensive action for Kansas. Okay, so right away, what we're seeing is a Hunter Dickinson action. As we talked about, he's one of the key matchups for this game. Depending on how we neutralize him, will be, you know, will tell us all we need to know. Both one on how we can handle this game, but then also future matchups against elite or what's considered the elite post players in the country, right? Um, so let's look. So from the start, we see that in the transition to get into their offense, they're starting with what's called a drag screen. Drag screen. The big man sometimes can be the trailer man, or sometimes it can just be the team's dominant five man. Comes up, starts to pick and roll action early with that point guard so that he can be quick. If they're pressuring too much, then of course the court opens up. Here they're downing the situation from the start. So he's down, he's calling out the screen, and then that's probably going to set up a pick and pop action or a roll for him directly. So let's see how they play out. Okay, so what we saw was a drag screen, basically a drag screen into a pitch. From the pitch of the ball, Hunter Dickinson gets into a dribble handoff to create, put a body on that guard, put to move him a little bit, and then he gets into that post action, and they're just simply playing one on one. There's not a lot of movement on that, so let's take a quick look at it again because there's not so much movement. Okay, drag screen into a roll, boom, simple DHO action. And then I guess since they switch, so if a team decides that they want to switch, then that's just a one-on-one that they want to take advantage of. You would like to see a little bit more movement there, so that means for us, what's going to happen is when their bigs get the ball, it could be the case that they just want to take advantage of their size, and if they feel like they have a mismatch, play one-on-one. Maybe we'll see more like post split action against a Carolina or something. But North Carolina hasn't been switching that much this year. They switched guard to guard in situations it hasn't been the most clear. Again, we see a dribble handoff to establish the switch, and then they crowded the lane. So yeah, so it's something to look at for us. We, like I said, we haven't been switching, especially not. We've been switching a little bit guard to guard, not big to guard. So it'll be very intriguing to see what strategy Hubert Davis decides to put in to play against Hunter and to shut down these guards. I don't think these guards are looking to shoot the ball so much. I don't think they're looking to shoot the ball so much. They are looking to get downhill, get into the lane, and score that way. Okay. One thing they're looking to do is they're looking to play in transition. They play really fast. Okay, so Hunter always starts up high game. See that they established it. Oh, nice. So now you see him moving the ball a little bit more. So great offense. They missed a shot, but it's great offense. So what we'll see here in a second when Kansas gets the ball is great offense. They're gonna look. They always start Hunter up high, maybe to pull his big man away from the basket. Maybe establish a switch if need be, and then they get to a dribble handoff situation where the guards can pressure. So the guard can pressure here. Okay, they made the switch. Hunter gets down, and then now he can swing the ball. So if he looks not to play too much one-on-one and he swings the ball, we need to definitely, be able to rotate, scramble a little bit. But I think that Carolina should be good here. I really do. I really feel comfortable that North Carolina can play their game. They probably don't have to switch so much. They just need to be able to be in the right position. That's the dangers of switching. You got to switch up. You have to rotate. Then, as long as the team's playing good team ball, it's opened up. So. Okay, so then we have to look at freshman Flory Bundaga, 6'9", 220. He's listed as a power forward, but he definitely is one of those athletic power forwards, athletic centers. He will definitely, have a size advantage. He'll be quick off his feet, very strong. And yeah, so there's a lot of, and when it comes to Bendunga, or like say if they're playing the same time that Hunter Dickinson plays, for example, there's a lot of questions about how are we gonna match up with Kansas down low. So we have been starting Jalen Withers, who is 6'8", 6'9", but he's more of a electric, athletic type of point forward. He's more of a guy that he's not looking to bang with you down on the post. He's going to definitely be able to block shots up high. And maybe that's good. But, if someone makes that contact with him, how do we combat that? So we don't want him getting into foul trouble, but he's one option there, and he has good size on him. He's also a grad. He's a grad student, so at this point, he's got a grown man body that we can use, and let's see. But then we also have guys like when we talk about Ty Claude transfer. New transfer in, or when we talk about, for example, Van Allen, Lubin, for example, they're more comparable to Kansas's C.J. Adams, and I think they would be better matchups for him, as well as Withers. I think he's a better matchup for him, but he's also strong, as a forward. He doesn't have the same game as Harrison Ingram, but it's the case that Kansas uses him at that power forward position at a shorter size, and he does a lot of things because of his athleticism, his strength, and his slashing ability. So he has a decent game. I don't think he's as much of a shooting threat as other players, but he'll definitely be someone for us that we need to box out. We need to be able to contain, and it's the case that due to our frames, let's see how we match up with him. Can a Cade Tyson, for example, guard him? It's going to be very intriguing how we match up with both, Bendunga, Dickinson, and C.J. Adams at the same time. We need to think about, are we going to switch, for example? Are we going to stay home? Are we going to double team? All of these things are very relevant to think about, and will be very interesting to see how Hubert Davis plays. And then going back to what does it mean moving forward? If something works and we take these guys out of their game, that's great. We know how to play bigs in the future when we have, tougher matchups in the ACC, or, when we get to March Madness. Or it could be a case that we're like, okay, this was made the game a little tough for us, so maybe we need to revise our strategy. So it'll be interesting to see what we come up with, how it plays out, and definitely keep an eye on the post and small forward situations especially when it comes to some of the guys named Tyson, Jalen Washington, Withers, Claude, and Lubin. When it comes to guard matchups, okay, so guys we need to look at, for example, are Rylan Griffin, who, like I said, he missed the Arkansas game, but came back versus their first game, their preseason opener in against Howard, and AJ Storr. AJ Storr is 6'7", Rylan Griffin is 6'6". And they're interesting because, for the most part, when we look at like a Noah Shelby, we look at Zeke Mayo, DeJuan Harris, who will be their number one lead man, their top point guard. These guys are like traditional guard sizes, right? So these guys we can match up with. Steph Trimble and Elliott especially are both strong, athletic, and fast enough, quick enough to defend, guys 5'11" and just at least 6'4", right? You see Elliott get blocks, you see Seth Trimble get blocks. They're able to get low and move their feet, and then of course RJ is no slouch either. He can play good defense, but when we talk about RJ, then it's always just a size thing. Are they posting up their guards or whatever the case may be? But for the most part, we can match up with these guards pretty easily. The question is if AJ Storr or a Rylan Griffin are playing more with 6'6", 6'7" at the shooting guard spot. That's where we have to question, for example, will we use a Drake Powell more, or will we use Ian Jackson more, so that we can, and then what does that mean for, Trimble and RJ and Elliott as far as the rotation? All these guys can handle the ball, so it'll just be interesting because Kansas is a power type of guard team. Their whole team is basically like, okay, using size, power, DHO action to attack downhill, dribble attack. So everything's attack, power game. They're shooting a little bit. I saw that Zeke Mayo, for example, came in. He was jacking a lot of shots up, and I think he was the leading scorer against Howard. It could be a case that he's not going to get as much playing time against the North Carolina, depending on how the game goes. But players like that, yeah, maybe you can make sure they're not getting in the rhythm, but it is a very important, or it's imperative for us to make sure that we keep these guards out of the lane so that they can't dish, and of course stop them in transition. Kansas is definitely looking to get into transition, push the pace, especially with DeJuan Harris. But like I said, Elliott's a great matchup for DeJuan Harris to make sure that he's stopping the speed, matching speed. Seth Trimble also. And then it's just a question of, okay, and RJ can, of course, but they're very good at, stopping the other team's lead man, their engine, which DeJuan Harris is. just like Elliot Cadeau is for us, for example, when it comes to distributing the ball. So the question is, are we going to be able to match up with these bigger guards? And I think, don't get me wrong, they're not going to be team's focal point. The team's focal point is getting the ball to Hunter Dickinson, playing through the post, and then just attacking whoever. But it is the case that, every once in a while teams send like these taller guards in to match up with us. I think we saw that, maybe was it Wake Forest or NC State? I can't remember, one of those teams last season where they were just targeting us. With those bigger guards to both shoot, because it's harder, even though you're closing out on them, they're shooting over you, or they send them to drive, get a little contact, foul trouble, things like that. So it'd be very important for us to just have a good strategy. And I think, that calls into question, how much is Ian Jackson going to play versus a Kansas? This is primetime game for him, blue blood. This is what he came for, as a top five-star electric New York guard, right? So, and then of course you got Drake Powell, who's a great defender. He's really in that Leaky Black, Theo Pinson. Even you can, even look at a Harrison Ingram type of mold where it's like, okay, maybe he's about 6'5" to 6'7" range. Maybe not Harrison Ingram from a size standpoint, but he's, he can jump, good athlete, and then he reacts on defense. And he takes pride in his defense, and that's a lot of his bread and butter, as well as being a versatile passer and things like that. So really looking forward to how we match up with Kansas. So the only bad thing about scouting a game like this, these early season games against like, a team like maybe Howard, is dribble drive action. So you're not able to too much get a read on what type of sets they're doing. One thing we know is that their motion involves dribble drive action, which means attack, push and pull, watching for cuts if there's an advantage. But then we do see that they like to use dribble handoff action. So they do like to get into some DHO. So yeah, it'd be very interesting to see if Bill Self just lets his team play, because they do have a history of being more of a freelance team, similar to Kentucky. They use a lot of dribble drive action. But it is also the case that we see them using DHO, but what type of sets will they use? Will they just look to play fast and, run the score up, shoot us, jack-a-lot threes and get to the paint? I don't think they're the greatest shooting team, so that could be to our advantage. Hopefully I don't, regret saying that. But, so just for us, just for Carolina, it's about keeping them in their space, being able to react off that dribble handoff action. And then, of course, how do we contain Hunter Dickinson, Ben Dunga, and these bigs that they have. Here we'll get to look at some film, break this down. They have a high pick and roll or drag screen situation with the trailer that came down. If they don't get that, then they're looking to get into a dribble handoff, Howard, that is. How does Kansas defend this action? Basically, you'll see that the guards will switch. As we talked about earlier, Kansas has a bigger team, right? They have like a true traditional type of lineup where they can play two bigs at one time, or they can be a little bit versatile, but they can play two bigs at one time, and then they have the size to have like an established small forward size guy. It's like they want to stay home. They want to make everyone work hard on the defensive end and stay home. And so what that means by stay home is that the guards are going to switch guard to guard. You'll see the guards switch guard to guard, which maybe limits a little bit of the the screen or the dribble handoff advantage that one creates from a dribble handoff or a DHO action there. And then you'll see that their bigs or the forward through center position, those guys will stay home. So their jobs, it's interesting to see, do they want to hedge or not? It looks like the guards want to go up. Since this is the trailer man, it's a bit of more of a drag screen. You can see that they, it's easier for the guards to go over top of that screen. So I am curious to see if they will go underneath other screens. But in this situation specifically, you'll see that they switch guard, go over top of the screens, stay home. Then when it comes to getting a regular pick and roll action, the big man is going to drop or do what's called drop coverage so that he can protect the lane and kind of minimize the rollers action and get back home. And then it's up to the guard to get back to his position. What we see is a down action. He's going to set the ball screen. The big is going to go down to a space where he can defend this guy from stop the middle, but he also plays down enough so that he can recover to his guy, maybe stop the lob. Um, Typically in a pick and roll situation towards the inside, what will happen is this corner man on the strong side will lift. This corner man on the strong side will lift so that when this roller rolls, he has the space. The guard may have space to get down and downhill and score. So it's really good offense. So from a Carolina perspective, what we're thinking about, or what I'm thinking about, maybe what we could consider is when this guy sets the screen and rolls, since we know that he's going to go down, maybe we can keep this guy in the corner instead of lifting him because this guy might not help. You know, they have the size to be able to play, body us a little bit. So if it's not a very clean roll for a lob or just a quick basket, maybe keep this guy here so that when this guy sets his screen, he can pop here, pop mid-range. Elliot Cadeau, RJ Davis, Seth Trimble, they demand a lot of attention. So when they come off of that screen there, they can just kick it to their guy because because they're not switching, right? We know they're not switching. So this guy's gonna follow, this guy's gonna down it, this area is gonna be open, this area is gonna be open. That could be something we consider. Not sure how Hubert Davis is gonna want to play that, but there's options. And of course you have the rest of your team, shooting, maybe you have a shooter here, some whatever action this guy's. So let's look at this defense again. Okay, you see the guards are working hard. There they didn't switch, they got over. So if they can, they want to get over for sure. They're playing over aggressively, so they're watching back doors. Here, you'll see him go over this ball, dribble handoff. Very aggressive. So this is a very aggressive defense. So our guards need to be strong with the ball. That's what I'm learning from this. See, again, he gets over, it's aggressive. So being strong with the ball, getting over those screens, and then just using skill. If that guy's going to fight so hard to get over that screen, for example, great time to spin off, do a counter move because you know he's going to be there. But they're aggressive. So very, RJ, Elliott, Seth, even Ian Jackson, they're going to definitely need to be strong with the ball, watch how they're playing with it, things like that. All right, Carolina family, that wraps up today's episode of East Knows Carolina basketball. Thanks for joining in. Share your thoughts. How do you think we're going to do against Kansas? To be honest, I really, in conclusion, I really think that this is a great game for us, great matchup, like I said, but I think we're going to win. And I think if things are going the right way, probably like a 10-point win. It could be between 8 to 10 points. I think it's going to be tight, don't get me wrong, but I think that we can control the game if we're playing great Carolina basketball. But what do you think? How do you think this game's going to go? Do you think that we should be worried about these bigs? Do you think that the guards might give us more trouble? Definitely would love to hear your comments. So comment below and let's have some dialogue. I definitely will respond. And as always, like, share, subscribe. This is Coach Dame. Great day to be at Tar Heel. Go Heels. I'll see you next time.